Okay. Game Time versus MCanning. So, let's talk a bit about these two guys. For those who are not familiar with MCanning, the man, the myth, the legend, the god who taught Neeb how to win Kespa Cup. Apparently, wait a second. Is that accurate? That cannot be accurate. MCanning has only won $25 in prize money? That is 500% no way in hell accurate. Aligulac, really? Hold on, ladies and gentlemen, we need to check this. Can we get a fact check? Can someone back up this statistic? While we try and figure out if this statistic is accurate, let's talk a bit about Game Time. Game Time, my pick for 2017, the up-and-coming player of 2017 in my book. Of all of the players in North America, this man is improving probably one of the most rapidly. The next best, if not equal, would probably have been MCanning, but I did not call MCanning's rise to fame, so I'm going to talk about him in a moment. Give him a second. Also, did we get a host from Maynard or something? I see Maynard in the chat. Yeah, we got a host from Maynard. Thank you so much, man. I hope you had a wonderful ladder stream. For those who are tuning in a little bit on the late side, I don't know when you hosted, if you hosted a while ago. I'm pretty bad at paying attention, but this is a stream where the North American WCS Challenger ladder qualifiers happened over this past weekend during GSL, during the Base Trade TV Ting Finals, hosted at the Corsair event, or Corsair headquarters and everything. You know what? All that stuff was happening, but a competition was happening that went completely unseen, and that is just not right. That is just not okay. So we are here. We got replays from the ladder qualifiers from all of these winners, including Scarlet. We got hopefully a replay from Masa. Masa promised me he would send me a replay before the end of the stream. Still waiting on it, but I will ping him again in a bit. We got replays from Panda Bear, me, Game Time. We got replays with MCanning. We got replays with, I think hopefully we're going to get some from Puck also, but lots of really awesome players. Peely Peely, True, and yeah, we're trying to shed some more light on these players that you guys are going to be seeing in WCS Challenger in just a few short days. So, talking again about these two players, maybe someone, do we have a fact check on MCanning's total prize money winnings? Because if this is true, MCanning has won, I think the minimum prize money for WCS Challenger is way more than $25. I am pretty sure. I'm going to double check this. The minimum prize money for last place is $400. MCanning has already not just doubled, not tripled, not quadrupled. He has won, what is that? 4 times, so it's 25 times 4, that's $100 times another 4. He's won 16 times as much prize money potentially as he has ever won in a StarCraft competition. That is insane. What an honestly amazing thing for MCanning, the up-and-coming streamer who taught Neeb, finally decided that he was going to take matters into his own hands as Protoss started suffering, saying, you know what, no, guys, Neeb isn't doing enough, I need to do this myself, I need to show everyone how godlike Protoss can be. Game Time, of course, I mentioned this before, he is my up-and-coming player pick of 2017. This man has been rising, he has work ethic, he has been working on his mentality. He thinks so hard about all of the games that he plays, and man, if you could see some of the conversations he has with people, talking with players like me, talking with me, talking with all kinds of other people, learning how to best improve his mentality, his mindset, constantly striving to improve. Even the people that I have heard, like, don't necessarily think that Game Time is going to be that big up-and-coming player of 2017, even those people admit, yeah, this guy works so damn hard. He is the man that is difficult not to cheer for if you see him in action. Taking a look at their match history against each other, this is actually such a cool replay to see because we do see Game Time has a little bit of a winning record in 2017 against MCanning, sitting 2-0 from the most recent Filthy Rate Cup, I believe, or one of the most recent ones. It was sometime last month. But this is a really cool match because this is going to be two of the biggest up-and-comers, two of the fastest rising stars in the North American scene right now. MCanning, this guy who started off as, I think what a lot of people just kind of thought of it as a streamer. And not a whole lot else, but he has been beating players like Ryung in the Alima League and all kinds of really, really awesome results. And then you have Game Time, who qualified over for Cheesadelphia, I believe over some really strong players. I'm trying to remember back. He may have even qualified over like True or someone. Peely. I'm trying to remember. Please don't quote me on those results, but he qualified over some damn good top-level NA players. I remember that for a fact. So let's get started. We are hopping into Newkirk Precinct for this Protoss versus Zerg. Let me stop the music. Oh, we got game time in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my god. So many GM players in the chat. Give them some love, guys. As we start down here in the bottom, left-hand corner of the map, on top of the red Protoss player. Give it up for Flipside Tactics' very own MCanning. Affectionately known as MCanning. That's what his real name is, ladies and gentlemen. Remove the ing. You see MCanning. He is a former DJ. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg player representing Sloth Esports. It is game time. Both of these guys, American players. United States of America. All the players that we're going to be casting today are technically American/Canadian players, except for maybe True, and I guess potentially Peely. At this point, here's the thing. People will say True is a Korean. True is a Korean. But he is also an American at this point in my books. That guy has been contributing so much to the North American ladder. He has been contributing so much to the practice environment in North America. He's been living in North America for a while. He's an American in my books, guys. But of course, these guys are, I believe, both born in the United States of America, so uncontested Americans. And in a Protoss versus Zerg. Now, I didn't talk too much about the playstyle of these two players. I'm going to come to game time in a little bit, because I feel like he's a bit harder of a playstyle to describe. In fact, I feel like if I tried to describe it myself, game time in the chat would probably be saying, Fear Dragon, what are you talking about, man? No, that's not how I describe my playstyle. But I will say, I think game time's a very solid player. I see him mix it up in terms of different types of play, and finding a really strong characteristic of his play, I think, is something that I've always struggled to really pinpoint on. MCanning is a little bit more straightforward in terms of his playstyle. In fact, a little bit to a fault, and sometimes to a strength. He is known for his disruptor play. He is known as the disruptor king of North America, only in contention with, of course, Neeb. But again, he taught Neeb how to play disruptors. That's the meme, at least. MCanning sometimes does it to a fault, but if you've been watching his stream at all, you'll notice this guy has been mixing it up. He has been mixing it up with all kinds of other play. He, of course, does also open up with the Adept, Resonating Glaives. He'll get up Blink Stalkers. He'll do the other kinds of plays, but he's been mixing up with Stargate play. He's been a little bit less predictable than you would normally expect. He's not like the Puck player who has just said, you know what, I'm doing exactly what I want until the very bitter end, and I'm not changing it up no matter what, because that is my playstyle, and I'm going to own it. MCanning still owns his own playstyle, but is willing to deviate every so often, just to keep his opponents guessing. Every so often, this ever so slightest bit of doubt in themselves. But taking a look at this game so far, we did see game time go for the 3 bases. I believe he ended up skipping, no, sorry, he didn't skip Zergling Speed. He's just coming out right now. I was on the wrong tab. I was on the unit counting station, not the production tab. But he's got a lot of Zerglings coming out right now. 12 Zerglings. It already has, I guess 12 Zerglings. Okay, that's just the army supply right now in production. So that's going to be enough to at least be a bit annoying. If MCanning tried to go for an ultra-fast 3rd expansion, that could definitely cause some problems. And 12 Zerglings is enough to be very, very annoying to a Protoss player that maybe sends out that probe, or maybe even just doesn't have that Zealot quite finished in the wall-in. Ooh, game time. Going for the damage. Right-clicking on that Zealot. He could potentially kill the Zealot. Stalker is going to come back from behind to try and reinforce, and that Zealot will eventually end up falling if he tried to continue to go for it, but I don't think many Zerglings would manage to stream on through. Looks like we're going to be seeing a Dark Shrine follow-up from MCanning, going for the very, very patented, oh, how do you even say the past tense of patent? Oh, realizations on the cast that you just never want to actually have. He's going to be going for the DT drops, ladies and gentlemen. That's the easiest way to say it. War Prism coming out, Dark Shrine on the way, and game time does scout out the Robo, scouts out the Dark Shrine, and scouts out a couple of the gateways. Should have a pretty good idea of what's going to be coming out. And you can see that. He's going for the Spore Crawlers and is getting out a decent number of units. Of course, just seeing the DT drops is never quite enough to fully defend against them. You're oftentimes dealing with the Archon drop follow-up. MCanning is one of the players that I've really enjoyed seeing because he's not one of those Protoss players that's just gotten, and to levy a bit of criticism against Protoss players in general right now, I've gotten almost feels like a little bit lazy with their War Prism harassment. They just immediately make the Archon. They don't even bother trying to use the DTs. They don't ensure that the Reserved players made those Spore Crawlers. They don't ensure that they're appropriately covered in all the right angles. And sometimes you can catch a Zerg player that is playing a little bit too greedy. You can see things like this. DTs potentially could get a couple of kills over here. The Spore Crawler not quite covering all their bases. Now, faster Archons can sometimes get a little bit more damage done, but I always love to see the Protoss players that take a bit more of a gambit. They say, yeah, you know what? You don't have detection over here. Why are your Zerglings sitting by my Warp Prism? I can get a couple of free kills over here. But it does seem like, for the most part, Game Time shouldn't take too much more damage. He's made a lot of Zerglings. I mean, this is a few more Zerglings than I generally tend to see, but he's still got 60 workers, and MCanning ends up losing one of the DTs. Every DT you lose is a bit painful because it makes it a bit more difficult to get warp in that next Archon. But he establishes a third expansion behind this, and you have to remember, the ultimate goal of this War Prism DT harassment is to buy yourself space to get up your third expansion, where that Zerg player is not going to feel confident trying to move out across the map and pressuring your third, because they're going to be busy dealing with your DTs. It's not really easy to afford all of the Spore Crawlers, the Overseer, the Zerglings, or even Roaches or Hydras that you need to push back the Archons or the DTs. And very interestingly enough, MCanning never got any Archons up. He's only now going to be actually morphing in those in, so kind of funny. Not very often you end up seeing the DT harassment that never ends up turning into Archons, but still ends up eventually stopping. Ooh, almost gets some beautiful force fields over there to trap in all those Zerglings, but Archon going to be able to get some really good juicy hits off and cleans up most of Game Time's Zerglings. Game Time has a pretty significant supply lead right now, though. 130 supply to just 89. First Disruptor from the Disruptor King is coming on out. This is the perfect time for Game Time to be attacking in. Photon Overcharge going to be able to buy a little bit of time. Nice force fields trapping out some of those Hydras. Disruptor tries to get a good shot off, kills off one or two Hydras, but that is not going to be enough. Hydras charging on forward, killing off Archon after Archon, Sentry after Sentry. Looks like one Archon gets levied up to the main base, but MCanning taking a significant amount of damage, pulling all of his workers behind the mineral line. He's going to be able to keep them alive for a little bit longer. Disruptor goes out, but killing off two Hydras, that's not going to be enough. Disruptor God, where are your Disruptors now, says Game Time. Cleaning up so much of the army for MCanning. I don't think you can really stabilize at this point. More and more of these Hydras are going to continue to rally across the map. And it seems like the Hydras making their way into the main base, they're just going to be able to avoid that Photon Overcharge. Barely getting a couple of shots in. Man, these Disruptor dodges from Game Time have been brutal. That is the big risk that you play with when you play that Disruptor style. MCanning, you rely on those Disruptor hits, and when you can't get them, when your opponent splits too well, they come out ahead. Game Time takes the game and earns himself a few ladder points. And I want to note, during this time, if this was happening around the time that I expect it was, Game Time, Panda Bear Me, and MCanning were locked in a brutal battle on the ladder to try and get that 8th place spot. Puck was the only one even remotely kind of in it, but he was in the 7th place spot. He was still sitting at a pretty decent lead, I think around 100 MMR ahead of all of them. Game Time was trying to get as much MMR as possible, trying to maintain his slight little lead over MCanning and Panda Bear Me. So this is one of those games I think really started to solidify that lead for him. Really well done by Game Time. And of course, cool game from MCanning. I felt like the DT harassment did a really nice job. I think he lost one DT, which is a bit unfortunate, but killed off quite a few Zerglings, forced out a lot of those Zerglings, and of course, forced out these Spore Crawlers as well. But with that being said, I think we get ready to hop into our next